Good morning, and welcome to another inspiring episode of the Good Morning Minute podcast, where we start the day with purpose, passion, and a little bit of power. I'm your host, Angelina Mojica, and today's conversation is part of a special series in partnership with the Empower Her Steps virtual conference, a movement rooted in helping women rise, heal, and walk boldly into the life God has designed for them. Our mission is simple but powerful, empowering life purpose, because we believe that when a woman finds clarity in her calling, everything changes for her family, her community, and for the generations to come. So friends, grab a cup of coffee, take a deep breath, and get ready to be uplifted as we dive into real stories, honest lessons, and bold steps towards purpose with our incredible guest. And that is Deidre. Hello, Deidre. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yes, absolutely. We're excited to have you. Deidre, I know that I got to review your bio and learn some fun things about you, but our listeners don't know much. Would you like to share a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. So I come from a background as a mental health therapist. I'm also a health and wellness coach now, and I've really become passionate to help professionals who are struggling with burnout. We have too many people who are leaving their field, even though that's where they feel called, and that's kind of become my mission and passion is to see them stay in the career that they feel called to without the burnout. I obviously have kind of walked that journey myself multiple times. And so I'm just excited to be able to share my knowledge with people and help them not land where I did. I was in a bad spot. So,
Hmm. I like that. I'm going to be listening in as well because I definitely have felt burnout in my 13 years of child welfare, serving in several different capacities. So I know what that's about
yeah,
a little bit.
absolutely.
Well, before we get started, I'd like to just kind of start our conversation with just a fun, light icebreaker. So, my question to you is, what's your favorite way to unwind after a long day?
Um, so mine can be um just time out in nature. I live in the mountains, and so just even getting outside or going for a walk is just great to kind of step away from all of our electronics that we're all so attached to.
Mhm.
That's really mine is just kind of get regrounded in nature and whatever that is. Go for a walk, just sit outside. Either
Ooh,
one is wonderful.
I love that. And being a Texas girl where the weather is like 106, yeah, that sometimes getting out in nature can, I have to wait for the right opportunities. Luckily here, within the past 3 months, I've now transitioned over to South Carolina where the humidity is really high.
Oh
So
yeah.
still have to pick those right moments to step outside. But I love a fresh, crisp morning out here. Just walking and just, the air and the sounds of nature is so beautiful. So I definitely
Mhm.
understand that. So it's lovely. All right. Well, Deidre, let's go ahead and jump into the heart of our conversation. And I'm going to ask you, what was the defining moment of challenge or pain in your life, and how did it impact you?
So for me, it was when my doctor said your job is killing you, and if you don't make a change, I can't help you. That was really the biggest turning point and insight for me, right? Where I was just like, oh boy, I what have I
Mhm.
done, right? Because really, it was, if I'm being honest, burnout can be self-inflicted, even though we don't view it that way. And so for me, it was that statement and that visit where
Mhm.
I knew I wasn't doing well. But it was so hard because, it's like, what do I do? How do I get out of this? Right. In the helping profession, especially
Mhm.
counselors, we're not necessarily in it for the money, but the money keeps you kind of stuck if you can't see a way out or you go, oh, can I really financially manage a
Mhm.
shift? Kind of kept me stuck. But it was really that appointment where I went, okay, this really stress really did destroy my health.
Mhm. Wow. And that hits so profoundly with me because I'm a social worker by trade. And so, um, I get it because you want to help others, and so you put so much of yourself on the line. I remember when I first started in the field, I worked for Child Protective Services, and I got to the point to where I wanted to deliver such good work to my clientele because I'm working with people and their lives matter. You know, their children are on the line, whether they're going to continue to maintain in their home or, you know, we're going to have to use legal interventions and those things. And I wanted to be a supporter of keeping the family intact. So that required me to work full time, Monday through Friday, whether that was sitting in a parenting class with a client or allowing myself to be a source of transportation from one thing to another because they didn't have that resource. So just working in all of these things left me on the weekends having to work on documentation because that was another big part of the job. And I found myself missing out on so much of my children's extracurricular. They were in soccer and travel basketball and all these beautiful things that we want to do for parent, you know, as a parent for our children. But
Right.
I was at home trying to catch
Yeah.
up on work and allowing, you know, a good thing I had a good co-parent with their father, and so he would step in those moments. But I missed out so much, and I realized at that point I needed to shift careers for myself, and not so much profession, but definitely a different agency that I started working with. So I was able to manage that a little better. So I get it. That's,
Yeah.
woo, that's so hard.
Yeah. Yeah. It's the tough part about the healthcare field. And that's where leading up to that doctor appointment, I was similar to you. I was working 24/7. And I'm not
Mm-hmm.
kidding on that number. Like
Mm-hmm.
management during the day had to support our crisis line at night. Like it
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
nonstop. And it's a hard field for sure.
It really is. And I grew up under, you know, under the boomer generation, where work was life and
Yeah.
there was no balance. Like, you know, you wanted to work so hard so that you could be recognized for your, you know, your contributions to your work ethic, that you got promoted and all those things. But I realize as the younger generations that are coming behind me, that's not their focus. Work helps them live, but they don't live to work. And
Right.
I've started to embrace some of their philosophies and ideologies behind this work ethic because it's important. I've often had um, people that I supervise come to me and go, "Well, I'm a mom first and foremost," and when I first heard that, at first I was like, well, I'm a mom too, but I'm gonna be at work. But you know, and that's just mentally, I never said that out loud, God. Thank
Right.
God. But I get it and I understand because that's a work boundary for sure. So
Hmm.
mm, yeah.
Yep.
So the doctor just delivered this news to you, your work is killing you. Um, and so that leaves you at home thinking really hard about your next steps for sure. What were some of those next steps? Like, what was the growth in this time of transition for you?
Yeah, so for me it was it actually took several days to try and figure it out, right? And it actually
Mhm.
came from a colleague who said, "Deidre, you have FMLA." And I would not have connected
Mhm.
using FMLA for burnout. But that really was kind of that first stepping stone for me. It didn't take anything for me to go, "You're right." And so I did, right? My doctor had no
Uh-huh.
problem signing off on it. So I took 3 months off. Um, where I don't think I hardly left my house.
Mhm.
And I just really tried to, one, catch up on some sleep and feel rested, but really spent that time going, okay, what change do I need?
Mhm.
Right? How do I get myself back
Mhm.
to where I was before burnout set in for that was my third episode of it.
Mhm.
Um, but it was really through that, it was through that support that said, you can take time off. It's okay,
Mhm.
right? FMLA oddly actually covers burnout,
Mhm.
um, which was new to me. But so it was through that I started to think because I was in community health, right? So I shifted and I started looking for different work, going, okay, I know I can't stay here because I'd been
Mhm.
speaking up for what I knew I needed for a year and it wasn't happening. And so I I thought a structure of more of like an inpatient facility would do it.
Mm,
Um, and it didn't. That was short-lived.
mhm,
Um, but that move oddly and thankfully, I'm really thankful for it though, actually opened up the door for 6 months of unemployment to truly focus on myself because I was in a bad place. I had
mhm,
arthritis when I shouldn't have in my mid 30s. I was toying with diabetic numbers. Physically, I couldn't walk, right? And so that was a blessing for me was not only that FMLA time off, but the work change I made,
mhm,
facility closed, so I could actually just focus on me.
mhm,
That's where my true healing really started, was having that time going, I don't have to work. I can focus on me for this time and figure out why did this happen for the third time? So not just healing my physical body, but that
mhm,
mindset of why did I keep getting to this point?
mm,
Why did it happen? And then I tried to sustain it, right? Because that's the other
mhm,
thing we do. We push. We go, well, there's no point in changing. Nothing can change. I can change companies and the same thing will happen.
mm,
But that's all not true. Those are just
mhm.
those false beliefs that we have either been led to believe or we create for ourselves.
Yeah. And I was going to say that we create the reality, right? So if that's what we're
We
thinking,
do.
then we're definitely going to make sure it happens for
Yes,
sure.
absolutely.
Yeah. So you're growing through this healing moment in your life, or this transition moment in your life, and you're healing through it. Um, and you're asking yourself some really good, reflective questions. How do I keep ending here?
Mhm.
So as you're walking this journey for yourself, when did you start becoming aware of, you know what, there might be some purpose behind my circumstances?
So I probably became aware of my purpose from those circumstances. It was probably a year into my recovery journey,
Mm,
right?
mm,
And I think that's something just to mention real quick that people don't realize, but you can't recover from burnout in 1 month.
mm.
It is a 2 year journey, 2 solid years to fully, and I mean fully recover, kind of get back to
Yeah.
who you used to be. And there were some significant markers, right? And so
Yeah.
for me, it was probably a year and a half, year and
Mm,
a half in that journey of recovering that I realized, okay, this is what I now am called to help others
mm,
either not get to where I was
mhm.
or to recover from where I was. And that's when I started, really looking at that part of the journey and how do I make that shift. But it took a while. I really had to do a lot of my own internal work before I could get there.
Wow. And it's interesting that you said it takes 2 years to truly recover
Mhm.
to back to your wholeness, I guess would
Yes.
be the word. But it's funny because I sat in a conference one time, it was a leadership conference about taking time away from work, and they emphasized for you to truly disconnect from your job 2 weeks in a row, back to back, for you to truly disconnect from a job and start relaxing and refresh before you go back into it. So I
Mhm.
find that it's so interesting that you're saying 2 years to truly come back to who your center. Wow. So
Yeah.
how did you discover 2 years? Like, how did you discover that was the magic, the magic number? Yeah.
Well, it was so in excuse me, in my recovery process, right? And when I realized, okay, I need to start speaking on this, I need to start
Mhm.
helping others. As a therapist, we rely on evidence and data, right? So
Mhm.
I started going down a research rabbit hole around stress and burnout so I could start presenting to mental health therapists.
Mhm.
So it was in my research that I came across it's a 2 year recovery. And then as I reflect on my journey, I
Mhm.
remember certain distinguishing marks. So like at 3 months, I physically felt things start to shift, right?
Mhm.
I was starting to move better. Physically, I could do more. So that was a 3 month marker. And there was probably some other things I noticed in there. And then
Wow.
I think the next marker was probably um 6 months. I
Uh-huh.
really felt things shift, but I actually recall that 2 year mark. And it was almost like this switch in my mind that all of a sudden I just felt like myself. I can remember that shift of
Mm-hmm.
I'm back. And so it was
Yeah.
interesting that my reflection of my journey lined up with the research I found that said it's a 2 year recovery,
Mm-hmm.
right? And
Mm-hmm.
so that was kind of how that came about. And it was like, wow. But I encourage people, like, two people get discouraged with 2 years.
Uh-huh.
And I go, let's start with the 3 months, right? Because you'll notice shifts at 3 months,
Uh-huh.
but that true coming back to, like you said, wholeness, it is two
Yeah.
years. And it was so researching my journey.
Wow, that's awesome. And I know we want immediate gratification because we want it like tomorrow.
Me too.
So I can understand the patience just
Yeah.
to see that. But to see the little, like you said, the little markers, those little markers in between the 2 years, that like 3 months, you're gonna start seeing some shifts happen, and then just continuing to go down until you reach your 2 years. I think it's beautiful. Um, how has your story shaped who you are today?
Well, um, I would say in a lot of ways, it's actually shifted how I view work
Mm,
and my interactions with people. And
mm,
so what I mean by that, and I think this speaks for a lot of people, but especially those of us in helping professions, we have this innate desire to help at all costs,
mhm,
right? So
mhm,
we put everybody else's needs first, or we have this perception, and this one crosses industries of I have to get through this to-do list before I go home because tomorrow's going to be more stuff.
mm,
Right. And so for me, I actually looked at my Enneagram number and my attachment style and how those played in. And that also came in through my research. And I was like, oh, yep. Okay. That's how that happened. Right.
mhm,
My
mhm.
anxious attachment style leaves me to, I'm going to seek more opportunities to help. I'm going to need to feel that,
Yeah.
needed and help. And so it was like trying to combine all of that, that it was like, wow, okay, I can't keep doing this. And the truth is I had to shift from work never ends, so why
Mhm,
am I trying to make it?
mm,
Right,
mhm,
I will
mhm.
never find the end, and none of us will, but we try, and that's part of that
Yes.
drive. And it's, we have to stop, we have to shift and look at it like we can get through what we can get through.
Mhm,
But then what's our priorities, and what do we put those boundaries around, and we have to
mhm.
protect it. And so now I can still work 60 hours a week and I haven't been burnt out, but I know my signs in my body, right? But
Mhm.
it was really that mental shift.
Wow. That's that right there is like a key, like, ooh, that's the secret sauce, really. Because I remember telling those that I supervise, take your time off, take your PTO, take your sick leave, whatever, because the work will always be there,
Yep.
but you won't. So, yeah, and you're right. It's such a like a secret sauce right there. The work never is the never ends. Like there's always going to be a need, there's always going to be a project, there's always going to be something there. So if you keep trying to clear off your to-do list, so to speak, you're never gonna truly feel gratified in that because it's never ending. You're just burning the candle at both ends,
Yeah,
if you will.
absolutely.
So yeah, take the time off, ladies and gentlemen out there listening. Take the time off. You deserve it. You earned it. So many of us save up our time off for that. Yeah, I'll take it at the end of the year or whatever, and we don't, and we end up carrying it over so much so that we accrue so much time off that it's so ridiculous when you just need to just do it so you're not
Right.
grumpy at work. You're a
Right.
better worker. You show up the best version of yourself for sure.
Yeah.
Um, so Deidre, what would you do? What advice would you give a person that maybe is like, man, maybe I should take that time off? Like that is in those pivotal moments of their career where they're like, you know what, the doctor said that I had some high blood pressure due to the stress in this job. I need to maybe consider some stuff. What kind of advice would you give that person?
Well, first of all, I would absolutely agree with what you just said a minute ago, and that's if you have the time off, use it,
Mm-hmm.
right? I know that unfortunately leadership sometimes looks negatively on it,
Mm-hmm.
but we have to ignore that and we have to take that time off, right? And take it off in chunks. And if it's becoming a medical issue,
Mm-hmm.
explore FMLA, explore that time because we know high blood pressure is going to lead to other things, right? So I think some key things for people to think about is yes, time off, shift your mindset because work will never end. It's always there.
Mm-hmm.
But I also am a huge advocate for less is more, simple. So any technique I talk to people about to help like manage that stress daily and start to recover,
Mm-hmm.
it's not this elaborate plan that I can hand somebody, right? But I can hand them things like before you respond to people, take a deep breath and slow your stress response, or
Mm-hmm.
get up and move for 5 minutes in between tasks or meetings, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's these simple, small things we add throughout our day that we sprinkle them in that actually have the biggest impact. It's not an elaborate plan, it's little things sprinkled throughout. And so it's just looking at oftentimes small changes.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and one of my biggest ones besides time off is sleep. You have to protect your sleep. You have to get that quality sleep. I don't even talk
Mm-hmm.
about quantity very often. It's all about quality because
Yeah.
when we sleep, we recover, right? Our
Mm-hmm.
brains recover just like our bodies. And so those are really like those key pieces I talk to people about. Let's sleep. If we need time off, let's do it. And then let's find these little tweaks to make and sprinkle throughout the day.
Mm.
And it's going to make a world of difference.
That's true. It really is. And I speak about like supervising and stuff like that. I really have shifted as a leader in my profession to shift my mindset more towards a love foundation for leading, where I'm having conversations with people that I, work with, and what's going on? What can we manage? What can we support you in and help manage as you try to regain, stability in maybe your personal life and things like that? Because I too understand, like, hey, the business needs and this, that, and the other, but
Right.
but also being able to lead in compassion as well, and really put your, especially in the social work field, medical field, um, people are the batteries behind the job. Like they're the
Right.
ones, they're the ones that are making things happen. So
Yeah.
if you don't help your staff, like if you don't help your team stay grounded and healthy, then you're just part of that problem as well. And so I've worked in flexible schedules. Like if you need to go and take the time to go pick up your kids, go pick up your kids, get them settled, get them fed, and then the one thing that COVID did unlock for us is the ability to work from home. And so,
Right.
hybrid type of schedules, things like that. And as long as it's getting done, I mean, however it needs to look, then, make it work for yourself is how I see it. Um, and really trying to support that as well. And it's hard because as you lead and you get higher up in the hierarchy of the org chart there, I mean, you really have to make sure that you are balancing that workload and responsibility for those that are frontline workers, and really the backbone of the
Right.
company and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Uh, my question, Deidre, my next question to you is: so you teach it, you've experienced, the side that led you into teaching and coaching. What does living with purpose look like for you now?
For me, it's really about knowing, I think it's a few things, right? One,
Yeah.
knowing my own internal signs that I might need a break. I might be starting
Yeah.
to have some symptoms again. But it's about what's important to me,
Hmm.
right? What's important in this moment. So living on purpose is being intentional. I think is a good word for that. And so, for example, I think I said earlier, I currently do work 50, 60 hours a week and I'm not burnt out. And a lot of people will be like, "Are you sure?" Yeah, I'm sure. And that's really because I know what my balance is,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because
Mm-hmm.
balance for everybody's different. Balance also changes with seasons in life.
Mm-hmm.
So those who have kids, it's grade school's going to look different than middle school, what
Yep.
balance is. And so living with purpose is knowing what those priorities are and then protecting them,
Mm-hmm.
right? Yes, I can still work a lot of hours, but right now in my season in life, my priority is helping my parents. So if they need something, my job comes second,
Mm-hmm.
right? Or
Mm-hmm.
if I recognize I'm struggling, my job comes second. And so it's deciding what's important, what's not, and let go of what's unimportant. We hold on to all of it. We think we have to do it all and we don't. And so that's where my purpose is, right? It's helping my parents, it's holding on to my priorities, but it's also helping other people walk the journey I've walked, or hopefully keep them from walking it because it was not fun.
Yeah.
Um, but that's really living in your purpose is knowing what's important. And I think knowing where you thrive,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Because when we're called to do something, we're passionate about it, but we also have to be realistic in just our time.
Yeah, absolutely. And we do. I mean, we know ourselves well enough to know, like, hey, I'm getting a little more gripey, than I normally would.
Yes.
I wouldn't snap so quite so much if I, took a day or two off from work.
Yeah.
Definitely understand that. Um, Deidre, let me ask you as we start kind of closing our conversation, a question of legacy and impact. If today were your last day, what would you want to be remembered for?
Ooh, that's a good question. Um, I think it would have to be just for people, probably for people to remember me as somebody who cared,
Mhm.
right? I think that's one
Mhm.
of the biggest things. And I do hear it some, is it's nice to know somebody's walked this journey and they really care.
Yeah.
Because I want to see people thrive.
Mhm.
And we can't thrive on our own. We have to feel seen and supported.
Mhm.
And so those are probably be the things I would say is just that I care and I want to see people thrive.
Mm. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
So my last question as we close out our conversation, Deidre, to you is if you could leave maybe some truth or a word of encouragement to someone who's still out there trying to figure out what their purpose is, what would it be?
I would say that I would encourage everybody that we need to just turn our attention inward sometimes because we have certain abilities in ourselves. Like we can talk about purpose or recovering from burnout, right? So recovering from burnout, we all have that ability within ourselves already. We just need to look inward. And I think that that's the same thing with our purpose. We just need to look inward and say, what's important to me? What do I value? What am I passionate about? I think our purpose comes from our passion, right? Because we want to be excited about the things we do, but it all starts with looking inward because we already have what we need.
Mm,
But oftentimes we're looking to others or looking external for that. So it's really just look within because you have what you need and just honoring that.
mm. And that's true because I've said it. I've said it before. You have everything you need, within yourself to
Mhm.
do whatever you want with your life. And so that also, that internal compass also tells you when it's time for you to take a break and take a moment
Right.
of rest. And it's okay to do so.
Yeah.
Well, Deidre, if I had someone out there listening and they're like, I really want to work with Deidre some more, or I want to connect with her, how can they do so?
Yeah, you can find me. I am on most social media, but you could go to my website, which is abundantwellnessessentials.com.
Mhm.
And if you just type that in and then / consult, you can always book a consult, but there's also lots of resources just on my website to help you get started as well.
Wonderful. Well, Deidre, I want to say thank you to you for coming on to the podcast and sharing your heart, your story, and your light with us today. It's conversations like this that remind us that purpose is not about perfection. It's about showing up, growing through the things that we go through, and taking the steps, because those definitely do matter. Here at the Good Morning Minute and through the Empower Her Steps movement, we believe every woman has a calling worth discovering and a voice worth using. So wherever you are today, friend, remember your purpose is powerful and you're not walking alone. Until next time, keep rising, keep trusting, and keep walking boldly into the life God has designed for you. I am Angelina Mojica, your life coach, sending you much love, much peace, many blessings.